Greetings one and all, I'm Red Angel, and let's talk about something zany for a change. Do you want to know what I find rancorously entertaining? Looking at images of JRPG characters and having a good chuckle at their outfits. Or in my case, hyper-analyzing each aspect of the ensemble and wondering, how does that work exactly? Some of these are just terrifying shambles of what a so-called normal outfit would be in one of those games. Keep in mind, that definition is rather loose all things considered, and I'm going to list the silliest I've stumbled across. Now, when I say silly, I mean ridiculous, outlandish, impractical, and goofy. This list will not be populated exclusively with fan service getups, nor will it be occupied by the zipperlicious apparatuses by Tetsuya Nomura. Even if both of those deserve lists of their own for the amount of Excedrin I'd have to down in order to get through looking at them. I intend on giving every type of bizarre outfit and JRPG or JRPG-esque developer a turn in my "What were you thinking?" hot seat with this list. Consider this a yearly gift, like a birthday almost. Like a birthday that might be coming up for yours truly. Happy birthday to me. Now, whether or not I get this out on my birthday is anyone's guess. Now, with all that out of the way, let's begin, shall we? The infamous, the illustrious, the alluring belt dress. Bane of all who wish to see somewhat normal looking clothes in JRPGs, this dress has been talked about up and down in countless articles, and while I will try to bring something new to the table with this entry, I can't make any promises. Lulu's dress is completely normal design-wise if you start from looking from the top down, right up until you reach her thighs, which you will notice that the front of the dress is made of belts. It's not just a fashionable accessory to keep her dress sealed, it's multiple belts being part of the outfit, revealing just a taste of her thighs while covering the rest of her. When I first played Final Fantasy X, I was convinced that Lulu must keep all of her items suspended within her dress via the straps, since that was the only way I was able to rationalize the design. This was prior to my exposure to the rest of Nomura's work, which only escalates in silliness from here. It's a baffling decision with this character design, and it stands out above most Final Fantasy outfits in its sheer confusing absurdity. Belts are heavy, and while Lulu isn't exactly a mobile caster, there are parts of the game where the characters have to climb over rocks or slide down rails, to which we see poor Kimari being stuck with carrying Lulu's belt-wearing self to progress. While hilarious, it's really quite sad if you think about it. Despite her great prowess in battle, outside of it, Lulu could be potentially viewed as a burden. All because she had to go with the full goth belt look. When discussing this list with friends, a common character that kept popping up was Titus from Final Fantasy X, and while I do agree that he is indeed quite silly looking, much like the rest of the cast, I couldn't help but think about Discount Titus instead. I am referring to the character known as Callus from Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings, and the Lost Ocean. Maybe he isn't dressed in fluorescent yellow, but it does look like he fell into a box of ugly, outdated clothes from a consignment store. The leather chest piece wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the bizarre fence post wrapped around his waist as what I can only assume is a belt. Or it is his next home improvement project. I don't know. I can't help but wonder if he can bend over without that thing sticking into him. Is it supposed to be a back brace of some kind? Does he not only have one wing, but also a case of scoliosis? If that's the case, then can somebody get this poor guy to see a doctor because he obviously needs one? That's not even mentioning those weird fuzzy things on his arms that I can only guess are some kind of arm guards. What's peculiar is that in-game, they look like molted purple and orange armbands. Yet his official artwork confirms that he does, in fact, wear fuzzy things on his arm that look like moldy carnival toys. And if that's his arm guard, then why did he decide to have a leather elbow guard that matches with his chest guard rather than a fluffy toy arm guard, especially since his kneecaps also match his elbow guards? Why is he not designed with a specific theme in mind? The other characters in this game are all pretty consistently designed, yet Callus is a big fuzzy outlier. Oh, and did I mention his shoes? They're like a love child between Crocs and house slippers, and do not remotely look useful for combat. I'll always complain about girls in stupidly high-heeled shoes in combat situations, but a guy wearing a shoe that could essentially come off his foot just by cutting the leather strap in the back is pretty ridiculous. You're not Samurai Jack, Callus. Pick some appropriate footwear that'll help you both in the air and on the ground. When it comes to Operation Rainfall, the movement that helped localize 3 JRPGs for the Nintendo Wii, a system severely lacking in them, I feel as though the last story gets left out in the cold far more than Xenoblade Chronicles. It's a real shame, considering it's a solid title, even if the aesthetics of the main party of heroes are a bit all over the place. And nobody encompasses this more than Syrenne. She is a former soldier from another country who became a mercenary after her homeland was seemingly wiped out by a mysterious force. Personally, I'm more interested in wondering what mysterious force possessed her to wear boy shorts into battle. I'm sorry, they're not completely boy shorts. They're also attached to the bottom half of some bell-bottom jeans for reasons unbeknownst to us. I genuinely don't know why they didn't just give her full pants or just shorts, because the choice of a detached pair of shorts and one pair of jeans just baffles me. Oh, and did I mention that she has armor on only one leg and on her lower arms and nowhere else on her body? And that this armor doesn't always appear on her in-game model, just her official artwork that comes with the game's collector's edition? Admittedly, it is possible to change her default outfit, which some would say would invalidate to this point. But this isn't an optional outfit like a swimsuit in a Tales game. This is her default, regular, canon appearance. Plus, even if you change it, her character portrait remains the same. It's not even for some combat reason, like she attacks them with her limbs like some sort of brawler. She just has random armor in her default outfit for some reason. It's stranger still when you consider that the only thing covering her upper torso is a bikini or a crop top, and that's it. The upper half of her outfit tends to depend on the cutscene she's in, but the character art is Bikini Syrenne, so I'm going with that. Why would you go through the trouble of protecting your lower arms and your one leg if you're not going to protect the rest of your bleeding body? I know there are some warriors throughout history who fought without shirts, and some who fought without clothes at all for an intimidation factor. Judging by the general aesthetic of the world of the last story, most characters don't dress like that unless they're mages, which makes the fact that this is her starting outfit all the more strange. Oh, Tales of Legendia, how the Tales fandom doesn't remember you, which, if you think about it, isn't that surprising. But it's okay, I still like you for the most part. Of all the games in the series, Tales of Legendia was not part of the mainline titles. It clearly shows, especially in the design of Legendia's main protagonist, Senel Coolidge. I don't know why, but out of all the designs in Legendia, Senel is the one that most looks like he just got done rummaging through a scrapyard and decided to staple everything to himself. There's just so many random pieces slapped on his design, such as buttons, metal bands, and rounded bolts sticking out of his body. Remember that friend of yours who had that old junker car that looked like it was held together with some rubber bands and duct tape? Yeah, that's what I think of when I see Senel's outfit. His tunic looks like it was made of oversized ties sewn together, which is held up by 2 belts, because of course it's belts. Nomura would be jealous. Senel's shirt has this weird red line on it that I can only assume is used for taking it off, but if that's the case, then why doesn't it go down the middle rather than going off to the side like that? That isn't even mentioning his metal shackle-looking things on his wrists and legs. Imagine how noisy this guy must be walking around with those metal things on him. He couldn't even get through a metal detector, let alone move stealthily in a dungeon. The worst part of it is, they don't give any in-universe reason as to why he has all these things. It's not like Regal from Tales of Symphonia, who has his hands shackled together, both because he was a prisoner and because they are considered lethal weapons. He's also not Velvet Crow from Tales of Berseria, who was imprisoned in her clothes, then attacked by wild beasts, giving her the bright idea to wear ripped clothes throughout the game to remember what happened. Which, now that I'm saying that out loud, makes Tales of Berseria sound like a Grindhouse film or a Tarantino flick, so sure, why not? These things are just there to make him stand out from the other protagonists in the series, but the real problem is, Senel doesn't stand out in a good way. The only memorable thing about Senel is his outfit, which is just wasted potential. The Dot Hack series has always had a unique style to it that I've admired ever since I played Dot Hack Infection. It encompasses what I think of when it comes to an MMORPG and the outfits of the characters you may stumble across. Sure, there are your typical girls in bikini chainmail and shirtless barbarians that are somehow fully protected from injury, but it's what I expect by now from that genre. They just have their own special flares. As the franchise expanded with GU, the outfits, while slightly more outlandish, still had the whole Dot Hack feel. That brings us to Dot Hack Link, and hoo boy do things get silly from here. Case in point, our protagonist Tokyo Kuryu's Exith form. For reference, the Ixith form is a job extension that goes dramatically beyond the reaches of the world, which in layman's terms means it's an upgrade that breaks the game that the characters are currently playing. The problem is that the outfit is a little bit equestrian, if you catch my meaning. It has a unicorn headband, giant parachute pants with weird spiky emblems on it that look painful to run in, and tassel-like scarves that flutter in the wind behind him. It's like they wanted to make something that looked like all of Sora's forms from Kingdom Hearts smashed together. Then they glance at this hodgepodge and say, yeah, that's fine. I don't see anything wrong with it, do you? It looks so darn silly on him, especially in cutscenes. While I know this isn't the most serious of games, it's just hard to take the gravity of the situation when I just see this kid look like he's about to gallop off on a magical rainbow. I know that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but this is just ridiculous. Indolent. That's the first thing I think of when I see the outfit design for 5 from Drakengard 3. Who knows, I could be absolutely wrong and the sloppy design has to do with some sort of symbolism within the game's text. After all, she's considered to be the most sexually active of the sister characters, so maybe they were trying to make a statement. This is Drakengard we are talking about here. These games may be shallow in the gameplay department, but when it comes to the story, symbolism, and themes, it's like diving headfirst into the Marianas Trench. I'll give the outfit one thing, at least the colors match and correlate together. That said, is anyone else getting the overall sense of, am I preparing for war or the beach? Better dress for both. If you start by looking at the legs and go up, it begins pretty standardly, with armored greaves of some kind, including knee pads with a couple of flourishes here and there. It looks rather fashionable. Then we get to the thigh area, which leads to her bikini bottom. Here we go again. Why? Who in their right mind would ride on a dragon or an angel without some kind of armor on your derriere? I know it can be reasoned that 5 may be dressed like this due to the lustful nature of the intoners, but still, you'd think someone would notice, hey, these scales are ripping me a new anus. I better put on some pants. Seriously. There's no way that's comfortable. Despite having armor on her arms, her torso is covered with a knit sweater cardigan thing that, of course, shows off her cleavage as well as parts of her stomach and her navel, because when I think of Dragon Rider, I think, you gotta show that belly button. If you consider she's riding around on a dragon in her prologue, the winds will likely blow her top wide open and cause her boobs to painfully flap in her face. Not only that, but you'd think it'd be sort of chilly up there. Not to mention the frozen landscape she traverses in the DLC. You'd think she'd want a bit more coverage. But no, she's perfectly unfrozen because video games. No frostbitten nipples for you, 5. You are covered. Even if the rest of your body isn't. Whenever I look at the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy, I always think about how the developers artificially extended the life of something that was fine on its own. Case in point, Lightning's outfit from Lightning Returns. It's up this high because, rather than building on what she already had in the previous 2 games, they decided to take a different route. I know Lightning herself can change clothes in the game, but I'm talking about the default costume she starts in, or as I like to call it, welding without pants on. First things first, hooray! A character that's actually covered up all of their chest and the front of their stomach. If you are wondering why I pointed out those body parts specifically, it's because the sides are where the straps of her chest guard are, and nothing else. You know, if someone walked up behind Lightning, they could just stab her right in the side and run off. There are only parts of the side of her torso that are protected by her cape, straps, and bikini bottom. The rest of it is free game, bare skin for anyone who would want to party down with some lightning shish kebab. Her arms aren't fully protected either. She has armor on the top but nothing on the bottom, similar to her torso. You could argue that it's some kind of mobility thing, similar to rogues in Dungeons & Dragons or those characters that rather rely on speed. The issue is that throughout the game, almost all of Lightning's encounters are up close and personal. Yes, she is fast, but with these parts of her body revealed, she's a sitting duck. I don't know why they didn't just put some loose cloth underneath it rather than just bare skin. Then there's the 2 napkins that flutter behind Lightning like you're moving at Mach 1 speeds whenever you walk around within the game. They try to give her another cape like in 13-2 where she had that feathery butt train ensemble. Instead, it looks like they just found some pieces of material from the fabric store and just slapped it on her back. Why even give her something to cover her back if you're not going to go all the way with it? Was this another question mention of her dexterity being hindered, then why does she have parachute pants around her armored legs? Someone having a full cape on with a sword on their back is hardly new. See Guts from Berserk for an example. And I never once saw him have trouble unsheathing his sword due to cape-related issues. This particular piece causes me so much frustration because the fixes that are here are so simple to make a normal set of armor. It's another ensemble that looks unfinished, or that it was styled this way just to be sexy. Honestly, after everything Lightning's been through in these games, she doesn't deserve that. One of the most hated characters from Xenoblade Chronicles. So hated that I might just... Oh wait, right, I don't care about Xenoblade Chronicles like I care about the rest of Operation Rainfall. I forgot! Silly me. Joking aside, I do understand the dislike the character gets, yet I'm surprised that people don't talk about her silly outfit more often. I don't think it'll redeem her in any way or make her more evil, I just find it increasingly hard to take her seriously when she's staring at me in her corset floating pauldrons, updo, floating gluteus maximus armor, and go-go boots. This doesn't scream most evil woman in the world to me, this screams 1970s fashionista who is living dangerously while doing some disco on the side. I know it can be said that looking ridiculous is a staple for a JRPG villain who will eventually become a boss, but I think she gives the likes of Seymour from Final Fantasy X a run for his money. Her outfit brings up so many questions for me, especially considering how high-ranking of a villain she is in the game. Such as, why are her pauldrons floating in the air like that? Why do her boots also look like stockings? Despite having a lot of armor around her neck and chest, why does she have a boob window? If you get stabbed between your breast or even your left breast, you're still likely to die via bleeding out. There's also her exposed back area. Stabbing there can easily puncture a lung, which means she'll be drowning in her own blood. There's so many ways she can be killed because parts of her aren't protected. And if I describe them all, we'd be here all day, and you'd become increasingly nervous about how I know all this. Lorithia is odd, because her design makes it seem like she's actually trying to protect certain parts of herself, but not others. But yeah, okay, protect your throat. Obviously you need that for monologuing.
Your friends are welcome to join you. That is, if they survive.
And laughing evilly, that's very important. Even if she turns into some sort of monster in her final boss fight, Lorithia still comes off as a villain that wasn't meant for this kind of work. They say dress for the job you want, and I'm thinking Lorithia wanted to lead an ABBA cover band and not be a supervillain hated by gamers. I guess we'll never know. Dona deserves to be on this list from the sheer ridiculousness of her outfit, which somehow escapes the notice of those who are looking for the silliest of Final Fantasy X outfits. Sure, we all talk about Lulu's belt dress for its sheer absurdity, but what about Dona's hot mess of a dress? I don't know if you can even call it that, because this dress doesn't exactly cover anything at all. It's half of a bikini top with bulky purple arm warmers and orangish reddish ropes, binding absolutely nothing. She's just wrapped in them. Then there's her long skirt, which is open in the front with odd strings that show her black thong underneath, along with her fishnet stockings. I have a question here. How does she walk? I'm not being facetious here. I'm asking a genuine question because the way her outfit is designed, it shows that her legs should be almost bound together, allowing for very little movement. Taking too big of a step would rip open those delicately bound ropes. And it's obviously made to be form-fitting if her in-game model is any indication. So I wonder why she needed it so tight, or why she couldn't just bind the skirt in the front to begin with. Seems rather a needless fashion choice. I've seen women wear stuff this tight in real life. They have to take small steps in order to move around in it delicately. And that begs several more questions. How does she do the sending ritual? From what we see in the game from Yuna's ritual dance, to send the spirits involves a lot of movement. So how does Dona do it? Does she just rip off the bottom half of her outfit and booty dance in her thong? Maybe she shimmies her hips at the spirit and that makes them want to vacate the premises. Perhaps she just flails her arms around like a chicken. Does she have a separate ritual altogether? We don't know. We are never shown any other sort of ritual until the end of the game. And another question. How does she escape all those times Sin is coming? Throughout the game, Dona is appearing multiple times before Sin attacks, and that makes me wonder, how does she get off the island so fast? She obviously can't move quickly in her outfit, so is she carried in the boat we see her in hours later? That'd make the most sense, aside from the theories that I have, about her ripping off the bottom of her clothes and screaming, "Ah, let's do this, I'm Dona the Summoner," at the top of her lungs and sprinting to the boat. Or maybe during Sin's attack on Caligula and every other subsequent attack after, her guardian Barthelo slung her over his shoulders and sprinted to the boat. Dona is the sort of character which reaffirms my sentiment of strapping Nomura down to a chair to re-educate him, Clockwork Orange style. He usually designs outfits just to look cool rather than fitting in aesthetically within each title's specific universe. As a whole, 10's designs are wildly inconsistent with the environment that they're in, leaving some being oddly out of place and impractical for their profession. From a character design perspective, that's rather poor methodology in my opinion. Of course, that still doesn't compare to number 1. For years, I believed Luso Clemens from Final Fantasy Tactics A2, Grimoire of the Rift, was a fake character. I genuinely thought that it was meant to be a parody of all the worst things that Nomura had conceived in his career as a game designer. But you wanna know what the actual worst thing is? Nomura didn't even design this one. I was surprised too, but it was designed by Akihiko Yoshida, the character designer behind Bravely Default, Vagrant Story, and Final Fantasy XII. This chaotic mess seems to be his leftover creativity spewing out of every pore and not knowing where else to go to other than this poor character. Let's get started on doing an autopsy of this rotting corpse, shall we? Luso starts off with a fairly standard modern day outfit, until he is warped into a magical land where the JRPG really starts, and then he's shoved into his hero outfit, which I personally think he needs a refund on. Take a look at the outfits of characters like Cloud, Squall, Vivi, Yuna, Lightning, Terra, and countless other characters from any sort of JRPG series. While they may have some sillier aspects, they're still relatively standard outfits. Now, look at Luso's. Does it look like he could remotely move in that? First, we have his overalls, which have giant leg holes at the bottom for his tiny stick legs, leading down to his heels/galoshes. What are those for? To give him extra height in battle in addition to shielding him from the rain, I suppose? Then there are these random silver knee pad things, but they don't look like they're on his knees as much as they are hovering above them. He has 3 belts. Of course he has 3 belts. The first is holding what I can only assume to be a ladybug grenade. The second is a semi-functional leather one that is hanging low on his legs, holding all of the heavy-looking gear, and the last one being a green scarf or flare underneath. How does he run in that? How does he move at all? Because it looks like it'd be a burden to even walk around. If he removed 2 of his belts and moved the leather one up higher on his waist, tightening it and then attaching his satchel to it, the weight would be more evenly distributed. But nope, if Lulu taught us anything, it's that if you wear a belt, you must wear at least 2 more so you can look like some sort of 80s club dancer. Luso has some large silver bucklers on his arms, which also look cumbersome to maneuver. It'd make more sense to have them on his upper arms to defend himself, with elbow armor on his lower arms. But what do I know, right? It's not like they're going to bend after a single punch or anything like that. Then there's the fact that his right arm has a random gauntlet on it. Not to mention that his entire outfit is held up by his overalls and his overalls alone. So if you cut his shoulder straps in battle, all of his clothing would go clattering to the ground and he'd be butt naked. Obviously, when going into battle, you need to wear a beret that doesn't match with the rest of your outfit as well. Why? Well, to go with your blue glass sword that's giant, which proceeds to put the Buster Sword and Gunblaze to shame with its sheer obnoxious appearance, of course. Especially since you don't have to worry because it also has a silver buckler attached to it, by a chain for good measure. It's not like he has a second sword on his person. Oh wait, yes he does. Of course he does. Why? Because we needed an extra sheath on his belt to make it more useful, right? Anyways, Luso's outfit is stupid. He is the worst dressed JRPG character. It's a dumpster fire manifested as a character's outfit. It was so dumb, I didn't think it was real until I was shown the wiki page. If that isn't a sign of how terrible this looks, then I don't know what is. At last, we've reached our conclusion, my dearest fledglings. I am free to go back to being over-analytical about something other than goofy outfits. Problem is, I haven't even covered a fraction of them. These were just the ones that stood out to me the most. I'll be frank with all of you. If you want me to do another list like this next year and make it a yearly birthday torture session, I'll do it. Just let me know in the comments below. I must say this was an entertaining list to write, and I sincerely hope you had fun watching this. I'm Red Angel, and I'll see you next time. Greetings everyone, Red Angel here. If you like what you see, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed to my channel and clicked on the notification button so you'll see all my new uploads. Check out the descriptions for links to my Patreon, Discord, and Ko-fi. Thank you so much for watching, and stay safe out there.